Hello, everyone. Welcome to this live. Today, I am speaking to you from Colombia, and yeah, so let's get started. Um, Today, we're going to be talking about the practicum, preparing and filming your practicum. I have my list here of the practicum criteria. But before I get into the practicum criteria, what I want to talk about is the filming part. Um, Everyone is going to be at different stages in their practicum process preparation. But one thing that, and by the way, the practicum criteria in your course doesn't show up until about 60% of the course. There is a reminder that talks about, now you are about 60% of the course. This is your practicum criteria. And you know what? I'm going to try to see if I can clean the camera a little bit. Perfect. So it's about 60% of the course and is a reminder section. So a reminder that this is the practicum that you're going to be submitting. And then at the end of the course, there is another practicum criteria reminder basically telling you now you are ready to film your practicum. This is the criteria again. The reason why the practicum criteria is not toward the beginning of the course is because we don't want you to worry about it and we don't want you to think about it. We just want you to enjoy the course without really thinking about what you're going to be teaching. Now, let's leave that on the side for a second, and I just want to talk about filming because I know that I'm going to talk about the criteria and preparing to build your practicum, and then I'm going to have very little time to talk about filming, and I think that's very important. So I'm going to talk about filming first, and then the rest of the live, I'll talk about the criteria. So for filming, keep it simple. Right now, I'm doing my live from my computer. I like my computer because it has a screen that moves up and down, and I can, I don't have to put my phone against anything. The only problem is that the camera is not as powerful as a phone camera. So if you do have a laptop, I encourage you to think about filming with your laptop. And you can also film on Zoom. You can create, if you have a Zoom account, you can create a meeting for yourself and then just log in and then just teach on Zoom and record into the cloud or record into your computer, and then you have it. The only problem with Zoom is that I believe it only lets you do 40 minutes, and our practicums would be between 50 and 60 minutes. So if you have a paid account, you can do more than 40 minutes. But also you can film with your computer, and then you'll just be saved on the computer if you have a laptop. We're not looking for amazing quality of video. If you are video savvy and you know what you're doing, go for it and, do a higher quality video. But we really just want to be able to see your whole body and see you teach, even though the video might not be perfect in terms of the kind of like the pixels of it, because something pixelated is less sharp than something that is less pixelated, like in a picture or a video. So it doesn't have to be really sharp. So computers are fine, phones are great. With phones is that you only have to use you might have to use a little bit of a setup for your phone, maybe put a few books and then your phone against it. We have a video also toward the end of the course of how to film with your phone, and you can also wait and watch that. But it doesn't have to be perfect. We just want to see your whole body. And some people like to get microphones and all that kind of stuff, but it's not necessary. So keep it simple. and work with what you know and what you have. And don't worry about, I don't think you should worry about the size of the video at the end. Sometimes, depending on what you are recording with, the size of the video is going to be a little bit bigger. We'll deal with that once the video is done. If you're trying to find a way to upload it, email us at support and then we'll figure out. You can upload to YouTube and send a link to us. We have WeTransfer. You can upload it to Google Cloud, G Drive. We can also watch it like that with a link. So there are many ways that we can work with how to watch the video. So just worried about filming it and getting it there, and then we'll figure out how to watch it on our end. If you are worrying about the size of your video, we'll deal with that later. Just get it done. Talking about just getting it done, one quote that I love is better done than perfect. So when I found that quote, I was like, this is the quote that we need for the Facebook alumni page, because a lot of the questions and a lot of the comments that we get is people procrastinating because they don't want to film the video, or they want it to be perfect, or I think we just build in our head all these expectations about what our practicum video is going to look like. It's our first class. We are sending it to teachers to be marked. We haven't met each other physically, so I can understand that there is an expectation there to do well. But on the other hand, it's like meditation. If you want to begin a meditation practice, it has to be easy. If you only have 5 minutes a day of closing your eyes, sitting against the couch, and then just thinking about your breath or feeling your breath, that is meditation. That's it. You don't have to go anywhere further than that. So apply that to everything you do in life. It has to be easy for it to work and for it to be able to get done. If you're trying to complicate yourself, then you're going to procrastinate more. It's going to be harder to put it out there, and you're going to overthink it, basically. So try not to overthink. Should be easy. Use your resources, use what you know, and then email us. We can help you as well. So that's about filming for the practicum. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about preparing the practicum. So as I mentioned before, done is better than perfect. And when you're preparing your practicum, think about simplicity. Simple, simple, simple. It is your first time you do this. Keep it simple. If it is let's say you want to teach a hatha class, keep your hatha class simple. We have 55 poses that are offering the program. We are encouraging you and asking you to please use the poses within that. But I'm actually, just to be a bit more organized, let's go point by point on the practicum criteria. If you don't have it there, that's okay. You're eventually going to get into the part of the course where it is, but I'm going to read it from my notes. So first of all, the practicum shouldn't be edited in any way. So it's just one long shot from starting to the end. And again, another reason why you need to keep it simple, because you're not going to stop for 50 or 60 minutes, just like you would do a normal class. And minor mistakes are expected, as I mentioned before. It doesn't have to be perfect. The class length, 50 to 60 minutes. Style, hatha or vinyasa. Even if you are a teacher who really loves to practice vinyasa yoga, unless you feel really comfortable teaching vinyasa, I would recommend that you teach a hatha class. Because in my mind, with my experience and my brain, I find that preparing a hatha class for myself is easier than preparing a vinyasa class. I'm just gonna check for comments because I have a couple people watching. We have Aideen watching. Hi, Aideen. Nice to see you here. Okay, so Stalhatha or Vinyasa asana, as I mentioned before, only asana taught during the program. Shavasana, 10 minutes of your total practicum time. 5 minutes of the 10 minutes should be in silence. So basically, those 10 minutes include the student getting into the pose and the students coming out of the pose. Music is optional. If you want to keep it simple, do not use music. Mantra, teach any mantra taught during the program a minimum of 1 time. Mudra, teach any mudra taught during the program a minimum of 1 time. Meditation, include a minimum of 1 meditation, 5 minutes in duration. We have pranayama, demonstrate a minimum of 1 pranayama or breathing technique. So that is about the first half of the criteria. And what I tell everyone, and the first half of the criteria is mostly about the holistic side of yoga. So I'm just going to reiterate. We have the length, the style, the asana. Well, the asana is what's going to happen throughout the whole program. But after that is Shavasana, music, mantra, mudra, meditation, pranayama. So let's talk about those 4 things. Mantra, mudra, meditation, pranayama are all holistic, the holistic part of the yoga system. I would create the beginning of my class that incorporates a mantra, a mudra, meditation, and pranayama. That way, you have used those, or you have checked those 4 criteria at the beginning of your class, and then you don't have to think about it anymore. So you can start your meditation with a mudra. You can talk about Anjali or another mudra, Jnana. You can talk about a mantra that also is incorporated in meditation, and then you can do your pranayama after the meditation, and you have checked all 4 things, and then you don't have to worry about that for the rest of your class. Maybe at the end in Shavasana, you might want to mention something that relates to those 4 things, but because you already did it, and as we are watching your class and marking it, then we have already checked and give you suggestions or comments on that area. And if we see it again happening at the end, that's great. We might add some extra comments or just appreciate that you connect at the beginning to the end of the class. So let's see, mantra, mudra, meditation, pranayama. Now, before continuing with the rest of the criteria, what I would suggest as well, and this connects back to the filming portion that I mentioned before at the beginning, I think the most important thing that maybe we are not thinking too much about is practice. So what I would do if I was taking this course and I was new to it, I think I would take my mantra, my mudra, my meditation, my pranayama, and organize them together, figure out what I'm going to say, and then record myself doing that, and then watch it again. And then that's going to give me the time. Because another thing that a lot of people ask us is, well, how many poses is 60 minutes? But we're going to talk about that in a second. But when you start to record little chunks of your practicum and watching them back, first of all, you're going to get more comfortable watching yourself on video, which is one of the hardest things to do in life. But then eventually you're going to get used to it. And then you're not going to judge yourself. So by just watching your mantra, mudra, meditation, pranayama together, which we could say that is you're basically filming the beginning of the class and watching it, it might be 7 minutes, it might be 10 minutes, and then you have how long roughly that would take. So before filming the practicum, I would actually take chunks of the class and film them myself. And then I can also, in a way, look at it back, give myself feedback, improve next time I do it, get more comfortable with myself in front of the camera. And also, I encourage you, and we don't see this happening a lot, maybe, I don't know, ever really, but we have mentioned it before. Feel free to post those videos on the Facebook group, and then people will give you feedback. And you can say, hello, everyone. This is the first 10 minutes. This is the first 7 minutes of my class. Here it is. Please watch it. I want some feedback. And I think that is very important because other people who are also before you in the course might be wondering what the practicum looks like, what someone's process is like. So I highly recommend that you film yourself in chunks, sections, post them in the Facebook group. You can even, if you want to film your whole 60 minutes and post it on the Facebook group, you're more than welcome to do that. And then get feedback from people. Again, this goes back to the beginning. It has to be easy. So if you want feedback before you actually submit your practicum, that is an easy way to get feedback, is to do it. You get practice, you get to watch yourself, you get to give yourself feedback, and then you get other people to also give feedback, the students. And maybe not, I would say that, I don't know if teachers will give you feedback because usually the practicums go to one of us, and then we give kind of like more detailed feedback to the student. So maybe a teacher might watch part of it and give you something, but the expectation is that anyone can give you feedback. And that I'm sure there's going to be some people who will watch it all and practice it with you and then give you feedback. We have great alumni in the group that are always really keen to learn more and to be part of the group more and to be more involved. So I'm sure someone will love to practice with you. So let me see where we are. Okay, so we have talked about class length, 50 to 60 minutes, style, the asana, Shavasana length. You can also record your Shavasana and put it out there. And I'm sure a lot of people would love to practice Shavasana with you. And we have music, optional, mantra, mudra, meditation, pranayama, which could go together in one section at the beginning of your class. Now, we have Sanskrit use, which you have to use mention a minimum of three asanas with their Sanskrit. Tadasana, Shavasana, Balasana. Those are the easiest ones. So again, if you're someone who's struggling with Sanskrit, just stick to the easy ones. Sukhasana, which is seated, Tadasana, standing, Shavasana, corpse pose, lying down at the end. Keep it simple. Don't try to learn the complicated stuff. Once you get teaching and you have more students and you start to get more comfortable, then you can start to expand your dictionary of Sanskrit. But it all takes time. Adjustments and modifications. Provide a minimum of 4 adjustments. Again, going back to the Sanskrit part, maybe the first 3 poses you mentioned are going to be the 3 poses with the Sanskrit. And then after that, you don't have to worry about Sanskrit. So add at the beginning as much as you can of these whole criteria. So then you don't have to worry so much about the rest of the criteria as you continue to film the rest of your practicum. So adjustments and modifications. Provide a minimum of 4 adjustments, verbal or hands-on. Adjustments and modifications should make the postures appropriate for beginners and or those with common injuries. Common injuries are like wrist injuries, maybe high blood pressure or knee injury or spinal conditions, excuse me, neck conditions, or neck musculature injuries. Sometimes our muscles in the neck get funny as we sleep. So adjustments and modifications, at least four. Once again, you can provide those four adjustments at the very beginning. You can talk about adjusting yourself when you're sitting down in Sukhasana before meditation. That's one adjustment. Using a cushion or using a block, something higher, extending one leg in front of you if having both legs crossed is hard. So that would be one modification right then. And then the next few poses could have the rest of the three adjustments that you provide, and then you don't have to talk about it for the rest of the class. Again, I'm kind of talking to the person that maybe is very nervous about the practicum and is completely new to this. Everyone is gonna have different levels of comfort. Someone might just provide adjustments for every single posture throughout the whole class. That is perfectly fine. We're asking for at least four, not only four. But if you are new and are a little bit nervous about the practicum, keep it simple. Then just do what we're asking you to do, and then you don't have to do more than that. And then we have cueing. Provide correct and concise cueing. So that one is basically when you are cueing the poses. So inhale to bring the arms up, place the left hand on your right knee, reach your right hand back, inhale to lengthen through the spine, exhale to twist for easy pose with a twist. So those are cues. When you are talking about placing the body in a space as you are going through the poses, and that would be very important to practice. So if you have your practicum and you're choosing 60 minutes, the first 10 minutes that were meditation and pranayama, let's say that was about 7 minutes, and then you're going to do 10 minutes at the end of shavasana. That means that your practicum is only going to be, in terms of the asana portion of it, is going to be about 33, that's not right, 43 minutes, because 17 minutes are used at the beginning and at the end of the class. So you have about 43 minutes of poses. So now you have to think about what is 43 minutes of poses like if you don't know how long is going to be your class. When you create your sequence, you can always have on the side extra poses to teach in case I need more time to teach, or you can circle the poses that you're ready to take out if you are, okay, if I'm teaching too slow and then I'm not going to be able to teach these poses toward the end, those are the ones that go out. So it's never going to be perfect. I don't think you can kind of like sequence a class and be like, yeah, I have 20 poses and I'm going to just keep those 20 and it's going to be perfectly timing. I would say always keep backups if you need to teach more on the side or if you need to take out. But I would say that usually when you think of a sequence and you're thinking, okay, if I'm going to spend about a minute in each pose, that's going to be 43 poses. But 43 poses, once you actually talk about 43 poses and cue 43 poses, that's a long time. So teaching is going to elongate every single pose more. So, you can always choose 43 if you want, but then circle the ones you're ready to take out and then have another list of poses you're ready to add in. I still think 43 poses is a lot, and you are going to maybe end up teaching 30. Also depends, you can teach a half a class where you're maybe spending more than 1 minute in each pose, or you're spending time talking about each pose. Sometimes we have practicums where the person has taught like 10 poses and they just took their time to do that. So it really depends on how fast you want to teach the poses. You can keep it very simple. You can keep your 10 poses and talk about them a lot. Or you can go a little bit faster and then have more poses. But as I mentioned before, if you take chunks of those sections of the sequences and film yourself teaching them, then you're gonna get a better idea of how long those chunks are taking, and then really will give you a it will give you a number of poses that you need for your class. It's 10:26. We have 4 minutes left. Okay, so cueing, and then same with alignment. When you cue a pose, when you're talking about alignment in a pose, that's gonna take a little bit of extra time when you talk about those things. And sharing the teachings, something about yoga philosophy. Once again, you can add that to the beginning of the class. You can talk about something, a mantra or a mudra, something you're talking about that is on the holistic side, and then you're explaining them why that is that you're teaching. So those are things that you can just add at the beginning of the class. You can spend more time preparing the beginning of your class, where you're going to add as much things from the criteria as possible, so then the rest of your class is a little bit easier. Excuse me, is a little bit easier. So same with the benefits. Share the benefits of meditation or pranayama or asana just 2 times. You can do that at the beginning. Breath cueing happens through the whole class. Word choice, making sure that we don't use offensive language. Your voice, that we can hear the voice in the computer. Props, make reference to props a minimum of 2 times. Again, when you're sitting in meditation, if you mention a block, that is 1 time. When you're lying down in Shavasana at the end, if you mention also a prop, that's 2 props. Or as I mentioned before, keep them at the beginning with whatever it is that you're teaching. So I think the conclusion of this live is spend a lot of time working on the beginning of your class, incorporating everything as much as you can on the beginning of the class, and then the rest of the class is going to be easier. If you're more comfortable teaching, because you might be comfortable teaching because of your past experience teaching other things, go for it and mix them throughout the class and teach the class that you want. But if you're nervous, if you feel like you're procrastinating, if you want it to be perfect, keep it simple, add everything to the beginning, work on that, film yourself working on the beginning of the class, watch it, send it to the Facebook group. We all are happy to give you feedback. And transitions, again, transitions provide cues for moving fluidly and logically from one asana to another. That happens throughout the whole class. So there is only a few things that happen throughout the whole class that you have to keep in mind, which is your timing. So pacing your class accurately and that the poses are around the time that you want, your transitions, your voice, your word choice, the breathing, and your cueing. Those are things that really just keep in mind for the whole class, but for most of the criteria, really, you can add all that to the beginning and then check mark all that, and then just focus on the 5 things, on the alignment, on the cueing, on the breath cueing, on the timing of your poses, the transitions, and that's it for the rest of the class. So I hope that these live gave you a little bit of a different perspective in case you were worrying about your practicum. You can always ask questions here. And Aideen is asking, can we use notes when filming, or do we need to be off script? No, you can use notes. You can keep a book or your notebook or your paper on your mat on the side. We can see it. It doesn't matter, because when you teach a class, sometimes you can see the teacher with the book there, and it's totally fine. And sometimes it's quite nice just to see that someone has prepared for the class. I usually never use notes. I try to memorize if I can, but that's just me. But when I see teachers with notes, I think it's great, because it looks like they know what they're doing and they have prepared. So yeah, I hope that this live was helpful. And feel free to keep writing comments and I'll answer them later. And everyone, Happy New Year. Have a wonderful rest of your day and your week. Namaste.